Millennials and Gen Z are the most broken generation of all time.
8 in 10 millennials believe they aren't good enough.
Generation Z is racking up debt.
It's harder now for millennials.
Many millennials are still struggling financially.
And for the first time in history, we're doing worse at our age than our parents did. But it's not our fault. Take a look at this graph. It shows when most people expect to hit major milestones like buying a house, making six figures, or even starting a family. But here's the problem. These numbers don't match reality anymore, and that's why most people feel like they're behind. So here's the question. When do people actually achieve these goals? In this video, I'll break it all down, but be sure to watch until the end because I'll also show you just how much harder adulting gets for us than it was for our parents. This is an 18-year-old from the 1980s, and this is an 18-year-old today. Back in the 70s and 80s, America was focused on building a strong middle class. To put it in perspective, there were only about 13 billionaires in the country, and earning $62,000 a year was enough to be considered middle class. This was an era in which hard work directly translated to financial stability, so college wasn't really required to be successful, although it was becoming popular. If you were young in the 80s, your life might have looked like this. Finish high school, get a job or attend affordable college, get married in your early 20s, buy a house, have kids, retire comfortably, which was realistic. You see, back then, the average age of a McDonald's employee was 19 years old. So kids were either already working or able to find a starter job by the time they graduated high school, which was great because if you wanted to live alone, you could afford it, but you could also afford to pay for college if you didn't qualify for financial aid. For example, in the 80s, UCLA had a 74% acceptance rate and tuition was under $2,000. Now compare that to an 18-year-old today where the average age of a McDonald's employee is 28 years old. College is more expensive, less accessible, and the same school that once had a 74% acceptance rate now only accepts 9% of people. And today, a college degree is almost required to join the middle class. Hey, really quickly, if you're enjoying this video and want to see more like it, please take a second to support this channel by liking this video and subscribing to the channel. I make videos intended to add context to life and make things feel a little bit more relatable, so please follow us. Also, if you want bite-sized versions of information and current events, I've included links to my other socials in the description. You can follow us there. Now back to the video. Take a look at this graph. It shows a typical timeline of when people expect to have life figured out. But as you can probably guess, this timeline isn't quite accurate. And if you were to adjust for reality, it would look more like this. So what's going on that's making life take a little bit longer? The answer is greed. Americans chose individual success over collective well-being, and things have been downhill ever since. Remember, back in the 70s and 80s, there were only 13 billionaires in the country. Today, there are over 750. So instead of a lot of people doing well, we have a country where a few people are doing extremely well and everyone else is trying to figure it out. It's sad because most people will never make more than $55,000 in a year. But here's the weird thing. 44% of people believe that one day they'll be a billionaire. So instead of voting in favor of policies that benefit them now, they vote in favor of policies that benefit rich people because in their head, one day those policies will benefit them. And the same thing happened with housing. Most people bought starter homes that cost 2 to 3 times their yearly salary, not the 5 to 10x we pay today. But as they paid off their homes, they started voting for policies that would increase their property values while also capping their taxes at 1%. This reduced supply and indirectly raised local college tuition, making it harder for us. But there's one more major issue. Wages haven't kept up with inflation. So for every hour your parents had to work, you now have to work at least 1 hour and 45 minutes to have the same lifestyle. In 1980, the federal minimum wage was $3.10. And if you adjust that for inflation, it would be about $10.20 today. But it's been stuck at $7.25 since 2009. So with all this in mind, it makes sense why 18-year-olds are taking longer to figure things out. The cost of mistakes are higher today. That's why college kids on average now are finishing at 24 instead of 21, 22. And within 6 months of graduating, 61% of those students have to start paying back their loans. So they don't have the luxury of taking the full 8 months it now takes to find a job in an industry they actually like. But hey, let me know if you agree in the comments.